When my best friend's widow showed up on my porch a year after his funeral, she was holding a shoebox, wearing a black raincoat, and looking at me like she had rehearsed the drive over 12 times and still almost turned around. I knew that look. It was the same one her husband, Daniel, used to get before he said something brave. My name is Owen Miller. I was 34 years old, a project manager for a small construction company outside Asheville. And by that point in my life, I had become very good at fixing other people's houses while letting my own life sit half-finished. 1 year earlier, I had stood beside Daniel's grave with my hands clenched so tight my knuckles ached, listening to rain hit the funeral tent while his wife Claire held their 2 children against her coat. Eli was 7, Nora was 4. Too young to understand why everyone kept whispering. Claire was 32 then, with tired hazel eyes and a kind of quiet grace that made people lower their voices around her. She had always been beautiful, but not in a way that asked to be noticed. More like the first warm light in a kitchen before anyone else wakes up. And that was the problem. I had noticed. Long before Daniel died, I had noticed how she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was concentrating, how she could shut down Daniel's terrible jokes with one raised eyebrow, how she remembered the names of waitresses and grocery clerks and lonely old neighbors. I noticed all of it, then locked it behind a door in my chest and threw the key into the deepest part of myself. Because Daniel wasn't just my best friend, he was my brother in every way except blood. We met in ninth grade when he punched a senior who shoved me into a locker. He got suspended for 3 days and came back proud of himself, like violence in defense of a scrawny kid with asthma was a noble profession. "You looked like a wet noodle," he told me. "You looked like an idiot," I said. "Yeah, but an employed idiot. You're welcome." That was Daniel. Reckless heart. Loud laugh. Loyal past the point of reason. So when he married Claire, I did what a good friend does. I stood beside him, gave a speech that made his mother cry, danced with Claire once at the reception, and spent the whole song making jokes about Daniel's footwork so I wouldn't think about how naturally her hand fit in mine. Then life moved on. They had kids. I became Uncle Owen. Sunday barbecues, school plays, birthday cakes, emergency plumbing calls. I was the guy Daniel called when the water heater died, and the guy Claire texted when she needed help assembling a bunk bed because Daniel had somehow turned one Allen wrench into modern art. After Daniel died of a heart attack at 35, I stayed close at first. Too close, maybe. I fixed the porch rail, changed the oil in her minivan, took Eli fishing when he stopped talking at school, built Nora a little pink bookshelf because she told me her stuffed animals needed apartments. Then, slowly, I pulled back. Not because I stopped caring, because I cared in a way that scared me. Grief does strange things to a room. It makes every kindness feel loaded, every cup of coffee feel like betrayal, every shared smile feel like you're stealing from a dead man. So, I became practical. I answered when Claire called. I helped when she asked. I sent gifts on the kids' birthdays and kept a respectful distance from anything that looked like loneliness. Then she stopped calling. 3 months passed, then 6, then a year. And now she was on my porch, rain dripping from the ends of her hair, holding that shoebox like it might break if she breathed too hard. "Claire," I said. Her mouth trembled once before she forced it into something like a smile. "Hi, Owen." I stepped back immediately. "Come in, you're soaked." "I'm fine." That's what people say when they're absolutely not fine. That got me the smallest laugh, a real one, but bruised. "Still bossy," she said. "Still pretending hypothermia is a personality trait." She looked down, and for 1 second we were back in her kitchen years ago, joking over burnt pancakes while Daniel tried to convince the kids that smoke alarms were breakfast music. Then the memory passed between us, and neither of us knew where to put it. I took her coat and hung it by the door. When my fingers brushed the cold fabric near her shoulder, she didn't move away. It was nothing. Less than nothing. But after a year of careful distance, that tiny stillness felt loud. "Kids okay?" I asked. "With my sister. They think I'm at the grocery store." "Long drive for milk." "Yeah." She looked around my living room at the stack of work plans on the coffee table, the half-dead fern by the window, the old photo of Daniel and me at Lake James. You still haven't replaced that couch? It has character. It has a lawsuit coming. I smiled before I could stop myself. Claire saw it. Something softened in her face, and for a moment the air between us changed. Not happy exactly, but alive. Then she looked at the shoebox in her hands. I need to tell you what he asked of me. The words landed so heavily that even the rain seemed to quiet. Daniel? I asked. She nodded. I glanced at the box. Claire, if this is about money or the house, it's not. Or the kids needing something. It's not that either. She sat on the edge of my couch, careful and straight-backed, like if she relaxed she might fall apart. I sat in the chair across from her because sitting beside her felt too intimate and standing felt like cowardice. She opened the shoebox. Inside were envelopes, dozens of them. Some yellowed at the corners, some newer. Each one had Daniel's handwriting across the front. Eli, first day of high school. Nora, when you get your heart broken. Claire, when you forget how strong you are. My throat closed. Then I saw one with my name on it. Owen, 1 year after I'm gone. I stared at it. The room tilted in that quiet way rooms do when the past reaches forward and grabs your wrist. He wrote these after his first scare, Claire said. I looked up. First scare? She swallowed. 6 months before he died. He had chest pain at work. He didn't tell you because he said you'd drag him to every cardiologist on the East Coast and then lecture him in alphabetical order. I would have started with anger, I said, but my voice came out rough. He made me promise not to tell anyone unless… She looked down at the letter. Unless the letters became necessary. I stood up, then sat back down because my legs didn't seem interested in leadership. He knew. He was scared, she whispered. More scared than he let anyone see. That hurt worse than I expected. Daniel had let me see every stupid, ugly, embarrassing part of him. But not that. Claire held the envelope out to me with both hands. I didn't take it right away. What does it say? I haven't read yours. But you know why you're here. She nodded, and this time tears filled her eyes. He left me instructions, she said, not orders. He was very clear about that. He said I wasn't supposed to live like a monument to him. He said grief wasn't marriage and loneliness wasn't loyalty. I looked away because those words went straight to the locked door in my chest. Claire continued, softer now. He asked me to wait 1 year before giving you this. He said if you were still alone, and if I still trusted you, and if the children still reached for you like family. She exhaled shakily. He asked me to let you back in. My pulse was loud in my ears. Claire. I know. She gave a broken little smile. It's a lot. Believe me, I had a whole speech prepared in the car. It was very calm and adult. Then I got here and saw your terrible Fern, and apparently that was my emotional limit. I should have laughed. Instead, I looked at the envelope with my name on it. What exactly did he ask of you? Claire's eyes met mine, open and terrified, and braver than mine had been in a year. He asked me not to be afraid if love showed up again, wearing a familiar face. Then she placed Daniel's letter in my hand. For a long moment, I couldn't open it. Daniel's handwriting sat across the envelope like a dare. Owen, 1 year after I'm gone. Claire watched me from the couch, her hands folded so tightly in her lap that her knuckles had gone pale. She looked like she was waiting for a verdict, and that made something in me ache. Hey, I said quietly. Her eyes lifted. Whatever is in here, you didn't do anything wrong by bringing it. She blinked fast. I wasn't sure. Why? Because you disappeared. The words were gentle, but they hit clean. I looked down at the envelope. I thought I was doing the right thing. I know. Her voice softened. That's what made it hurt worse. Rain tapped against the windows. The house felt too small for the truth sitting between us. I slid my thumb under the flap and opened the letter. Daniel's handwriting covered 2 pages, crooked and impatient, exactly like him. Oh, if you're reading this, then I'm dead, which is rude of me. Sorry about that. Despite myself, a laugh broke out of me. It cracked halfway through. Claire's mouth trembled into a sad smile. I kept reading. I need you to listen, and for once don't argue with me in your head before I finish. I know you, take care of them. Not because Claire is weak, she's the strongest person I've ever known. Take care of her because strong people get tired too, and because she will pretend she isn't lonely until loneliness starts paying rent. Take care of Eli. Teach him how to be angry without becoming cruel. Take him fishing even when he says he doesn't want to go. Take care of Nora. Build her things. She likes that. Also, if she dates a drummer, haunt the drummer. My vision blurred. And take care of yourself, idiot. I know you love me. I know you'd honor me by staying away if you thought your feelings were a betrayal. So let me say this as clearly as I can. If someday you love Claire in a way that is real and patient, and not born only from grief, you have my blessing. If she loves you back, don't you dare punish her for being alive. I had to stop. The letter shook in my hands. Claire whispered, "There's more." I nodded, though I wasn't sure I could survive more. I am not giving her to you. She isn't mine to give. I am asking you to be brave enough to stand where I can't anymore, if she wants you there. Love my children. Love her well. And if love grows between you, let it grow without my ghost standing in the doorway making faces. You honored me in life, brother. Honor me again when I'm gone. D. I sat there with Daniel's last words burning through me, feeling like he'd reached out of the grave and put both hands on my shoulders. For a minute, neither of us spoke. Then Claire said, "I hated him a little when I first read mine." I looked at her. She wiped at her cheek. Not really, but a little. For being so Daniel. For making jokes while breaking my heart. For knowing me well enough to know I'd try to turn widowhood into a lifetime job. He knew both of us too well, I said. Yes. I folded the letter carefully along its creases. My hands were still unsteady. Claire, I pulled away because I was afraid of wanting what wasn't mine to want. Her breath caught. There, I said, forcing myself not to look away. That's the ugly truth. I loved Daniel. I would have died for him. And I also... My throat tightened. I also cared about you in ways I had no right to. She didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned forward, elbows on her knees, eyes fixed on mine. Do you think I didn't know? My heart stopped being useful. What? Her cheeks colored, but she didn't retreat. Not at first. But over the years? The way you looked away too quickly sometimes. The way you never hugged me longer than necessary. The way you became extra sarcastic whenever things got quiet. I thought I was subtle. You once spent an entire Thanksgiving explaining gutter drainage to avoid sitting next to me. That was important information. It was a dining room, Owen. A laugh escaped me, soft and disbelieving. She laughed too, and suddenly the grief in the room had company. Then her smile faded. I never crossed that line either, she said. I loved my husband, completely. I know. But there were moments... She drew in a careful breath. Moments when I wondered what kind of woman even noticed another man's kindness while her husband was in the next room. A human one, I said. She looked at me then, really looked, and something opened between us that had been locked for years. I moved from the chair to the couch, not touching her yet, but close enough to feel the warmth of her beside me. Close enough to smell rainwater and lavender shampoo. Claire, if I come back into your life, I don't want it to be because Daniel asked. I don't want to be a duty you inherited. Her eyes shone. Good. Because I didn't come here to hand myself over like part of his estate. That came out wrong. It really did. I mean, I know what you mean. Her knee brushed mine. Neither of us moved it away. And I didn't come because he asked. I came because for the past year, every time something good happened, I wanted to tell you. Every time something broke, I almost called. Every time the kids mentioned you, I had to pretend my chest didn't hurt. I closed my eyes. And last week, she continued, Nora asked if Uncle Owen stopped loving us because Daddy went to heaven. That one cut deep. I didn't, I said immediately. God, Claire, I didn't. I know. Her voice turned shaky. But I didn't know how to explain that grown-ups can love people and still run away because they're scared. I looked at our knees touching, such a small thing, such a dangerous thing. Then let me stop running, I said. Her hand moved first. She placed it over mine on the couch cushion, tentative but deliberate. Her fingers were cold from the rain. I turned my hand palm up and she slid hers into it. It was not a kiss. It was not a promise. But it felt like the first honest thing either of us had done in a long time. Claire stared at our joined hands. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Me neither. I still love him. I know. Some days I miss him so much I can't breathe. I know. And some days, her thumb brushed across my knuckle. Some days I miss you too. That was the moment I chose her, not as Daniel's widow, not as a responsibility, not as a second chance granted by a dead man. As Claire. The woman sitting beside me with rain in her hair, grief in her bones, and enough courage to put her hand in mine. I'd like to see the kids, I said, if they'll have me. She gave me a watery smile. Eli will act unimpressed for 7 minutes and then ask if you still have the fishing rods. And Nora? Nora will make you apologize to every stuffed animal you abandoned. Fair. Claire laughed again, and this time it sounded less bruised. We sat that way until the rain softened, hand in hand on my ancient lawsuit-worthy couch, Daniel's letter resting between us like a blessing neither of us had asked for but both desperately needed. Before she left, I walked her to the door. She paused under the porch light, turning toward me. The rain had stopped, leaving the world silver and wet. Owen? Yeah? This can't be rushed. I know. And it can't be hidden in shame. My chest tightened. No, I said. It can't. She stepped closer then, close enough that I could see the tiny freckle near her left eye, the one I'd trained myself not to notice. Good, she whispered. Then she rose on her toes and kissed my cheek. Not my mouth. Not yet. But her lips lingered, warm against my skin. And when she pulled away, her eyes dropped to mine like she was wondering the same impossible thing I was. What if Daniel had known the ending before we did? Claire walked to her car, and I stood on the porch holding the place she'd kissed me like a man afraid it might vanish. For the first time in a year, I didn't feel haunted. I felt called back to life. I saw the kids the following Saturday. Claire warned me not to bring presents. So naturally, I brought a tackle box for Eli and a ridiculous stuffed giraffe for Nora wearing a tiny tool belt. That's not a present, I told Claire when she opened the door and saw them in my hands. That's emotional bribery. Her eyes narrowed. You are impossible. You invited me. I invited a grown man. He couldn't make it. Her mouth fought a smile and lost. She was wearing jeans and a soft green sweater, her hair loose around her shoulders. For one dangerous second, I forgot why I was on her porch and simply looked at her. She noticed. Color touched her cheeks, but she didn't look away. Hi, she said, quieter. Hi. Then Nora screamed my name from inside the house, and the moment shattered into flying pink socks and small arms around my knees. Uncle Owen, you came back! I crouched and hugged her harder than I meant to. I did, Bug. You were gone forever. I know. I looked into her solemn little face. I'm sorry. She studied me, then nodded like a queen granting pardon. Okay, but Mr. Pickles is mad. I assumed? Eli stood in the hallway pretending not to care. He had grown taller. His hair fell into his eyes the way Daniel's used to, and for half a heartbeat I couldn't breathe. Hey man, I said. He shrugged. Hey. I held up the tackle box. His expression betrayed him for exactly 1 second. Still fish? Sometimes. Good, I forgot how to bait a hook. You did not. Nope. But I figured you'd enjoy correcting me. He rolled his eyes, but he took the box. 7 minutes later, as Claire predicted, he asked if my fishing rods were still in the truck. We spent the afternoon in the backyard because the kids insisted I inspect everything that had changed. Nora's bookshelf now housed stuffed animals arranged by emotional needs. Eli had built a lopsided birdhouse in the maple tree. I told him it had character. That means it's ugly, he said. It means birds are forgiving. Claire sat on the porch steps with 2 mugs of coffee watching us. Every time I glanced over, she looked away a fraction too late. By late afternoon, Nora had gone inside to draw apology letters from me to her toys, and Eli was in the garage finding fishing line. Claire and I were left under the maple tree with gold light caught in the leaves. "You survived," she said. "Barely. Mr. Pickles drives a hard bargain. He's been through a lot. I offered him a written statement and 1 grape. Generous." I leaned back against the tree trunk. "They look good, Claire." Her smile faded into something tender and tired. "They are good and not good. Depends on the hour." "Same as us, then." She looked at me. There was that quiet again. Not empty. Full. "I was afraid today would hurt too much," she admitted. "Did it?" "Yes." She stepped closer. "But not only." My fingers twitched at my side. I wanted to touch her hair, her hand, the soft place where grief sat at the corner of her mouth. Instead, I waited. Claire took the last step herself. She stood close enough that her sweater brushed my jacket. "Is this okay?" she asked. "You're asking the man currently forgetting basic language?" That made her laugh, but it trembled at the edges. I lifted my hand slowly, giving her every chance to move away, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Her eyes closed. It was such a small intimacy. I had seen Daniel do it 100 times. Maybe that should have stopped me. It didn't. Because when her eyes opened again, she wasn't looking through me toward the past. She was looking at me. "Owen," she whispered. The back door banged open. We jumped apart like guilty teenagers. Eli stood there holding fishing line. His eyes moved from Claire's face to mine. "You guys are weird," he said. Claire coughed. "Very observant." "Can Uncle Owen stay for dinner?" Nora shouted from somewhere behind him. "And pancakes!" "It's 4:30, Claire called back. "Pancakes are timeless," Nora yelled. I looked at Claire. She's not wrong. So I stayed. Dinner became pancakes, scrambled eggs, and bacon that Claire claimed was intentionally crisp, and I claimed needed a proper burial. She smacked my arm with a dish towel, and the contact left me smiling like a fool over a skillet. After the kids ate, Nora demanded I read a story. Eli pretended not to listen from the hallway, but slowly migrated to the armchair. Claire stood in the doorway watching us, arms folded, her expression soft in a way that made my chest ache. When the kids were finally asleep, I found her in the kitchen washing mugs. "You don't have to do that," she said. "I know." "Then why are you hovering?" "Because leaving feels rude." She glanced at me over her shoulder. "Only rude?" "No," I said. The water kept running. Claire turned it off. For a moment, the house was quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator and the far-off creak of old pipes. "I don't want you to leave either," she said. There it was. Honest, frightening, simple. I took the towel from the counter and dried my hands, though they weren't wet. "Then tell me what you want." She turned to face me, leaning back against the sink. "That is a dangerous question. Not if you answer carefully." "I am tired of careful." My heart kicked. Claire's gaze dropped to my mouth, then returned to my eyes. "I want to know what it feels like to choose something because I want it. Not because I'm surviving. Not because someone needs me. Not because Daniel gave permission from beyond the grave." I stepped closer. "And what do you want?" Her breath shook. "You." Everything in me went still, not out of doubt, out of reverence. I crossed the kitchen slowly. She didn't move away. When I reached her, I set one hand on the counter beside her hip, not trapping her, just close enough to feel the warmth of her. "I want you too," I said. "I have for longer than I'm proud of. But I want this right. Slow if you need slow. Stopped if you say stop. No shadows." Her eyes filled. "No shadows." Then she lifted her hand and touched my jaw. I let her pull me down. Our first kiss was not desperate. It was careful at first, a question asked with closed eyes. Her lips were soft and warm, and she tasted faintly of coffee and maple syrup. I kept my hand still until she made a small sound and stepped into me, fingers curling in my shirt. Then I kissed her back. Really kissed her. Years of restraint broke open, but not violently. more like a door unlocked in a house we both thought we had lost. Her hand slid to the back of my neck, and mine found her waist, holding her with a tenderness that felt almost painful. When we parted, her forehead rested against my chest. "I thought I would feel guilty," she whispered. "Do you?" She was quiet. Then she shook her head. "I feel sad, and happy, and terrified." I pressed my cheek to her hair. "Me too." She laughed softly against me. "Romantic." "I can try again. You make my emotional vocabulary collapse." "Better." I felt her smile. We stood there in the kitchen, wrapped around each other like people learning a new language by touch. Then, from upstairs, Nora's sleepy voice called, "Mommy, is Uncle Owen still here?" Claire stepped back, wiping under her eyes. "Yes, sweetheart." "Good," Nora called. "Tell him Mr. Pickles forgives him." Claire looked at me, laughter and tears both shining on her face. "Big night for you," she whispered. "The giraffe was key." At the door later, she walked me out beneath a sky full of stars. We didn't kiss again, though I wanted to. Maybe she did too, because her fingers lingered in mine before she let go. "Come by next weekend," she asked. "I'd like that." "For the kids," she added, teasing. "Of course." "And maybe coffee." "With you?" Her smile curved slowly. "If you behave." "I almost never do." "I remember." That one word warmed me all the way home. But as I pulled into my driveway, my phone buzzed with a message from Claire. "Thank you for tonight. I chose it. I chose you." I sat in my truck staring at those words until the screen went dark. Then I whispered into the quiet, "I choose you too." We tried to go slow. For exactly 11 days. Slow, we discovered, was difficult when Claire smiled at me over coffee like she knew every secret I'd ever buried and was deciding which one to tease me about first. Our first official date happened on a Thursday morning because evenings belonged to homework, baths, and Nora's campaign to convince everyone she needed a hamster. Claire met me at a little diner outside town, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and a waitress who called everyone honey with legal authority. She arrived 5 minutes late, breathless, hair pinned up badly, wearing a blue dress under her coat. I stood when she walked in. She stopped in front of me, eyes narrowing. "Did you just stand up?" "I was raised with manners." "You were raised by wolves and Daniel." "Daniel was the wolf." Her smile softened. "He would have liked this." The words could have ruined everything. Instead, they settled gently between us. "Yeah," I said. "I think he would have made fun of my shirt first." "He absolutely would have." She slid into the booth and I sat across from her, aware of every inch of table between us. The waitress poured coffee. Claire reached for the sugar at the same time I did, and our fingers touched. Neither of us pulled away fast enough to pretend it was accidental. Her eyes lifted. "Still forgetting language?" she asked. "Completely fluent in breakfast foods." "Impressive. I can say waffle in 3 emotional tones." She laughed, and I felt 10 years younger. We talked about ordinary things first. Eli's science project, Nora's hatred of peas, my latest construction site where a client wanted rustic elegance, which apparently meant expensive wood made to look abandoned. Then Claire grew quiet, circling her mug with both hands. "What?" I asked. She took a breath. "Daniel's mother called." I sat back. Marianne had loved Daniel fiercely and grieved him like a woman trying to hold back the ocean with both hands. She had always been kind to me. To Claire, too, though grief had sharpened some of her kindness into judgment. "She heard I saw you," Claire said. "From who?" "Small town, possibly the maple tree." "Nosy tree." Claire smiled, then it faded. "She asked if you were replacing him." The words hit, but not as hard as Claire's face did. She looked ashamed and that I couldn't stand. I reached across the table and took her hand. "Look at me." She did. "You are not replacing him." "I'm not replacing him." "Nobody could." "I know that." "Do you?" Her eyes filled. "Most days." I rubbed my thumb over her knuckles. "Then on the days you don't, I'll remind you." She held my hand tighter. "I told her nothing was happening," Claire whispered, and I hated myself as soon as I said it. My chest went tight. Because something is happening, she said. Something real, and I don't want to hide you like a mistake. I stood up, tossed cash on the table, and held out my hand. Her eyebrows rose. Are we fleeing pancakes? We're taking a walk. It's raining. Then you'll finally get to make hypothermia your personality. She laughed despite the tears and put her hand in mine. We walked 2 blocks under a gray sky, sharing my jacket because neither of us had brought an umbrella. By the time we reached the covered footbridge near the river, Claire's shoulder was pressed against my side, her hair damp again, curls escaping around her face. This is very cinematic, she said. I'm a professional. At what? Emotional weather? Construction. But I dabble. She turned toward the river, then back to me. I'm scared, Owen. I know. Not of you. I know that too. I'm scared people will think I didn't love him enough. There it was. The quiet blade. I stepped in front of her, blocking the wind. Claire, you loved Daniel every day he had. Everyone saw it. I saw it. Loving me now doesn't erase that. A tear slid down her cheek. And I loved him too, I said, which is why I won't let either of us turn what we're building into something dirty. Her lower lip trembled. What are we building? I touched her face, giving her time to move away. She leaned into my palm. Us, I said. The word changed her. Not dramatically, just enough. Her shoulders lowered, her eyes warmed. She covered my hand with hers and kissed the center of my palm. It was such a tender thing that it nearly undid me. Then she rose on her toes and kissed my mouth. This kiss was different from the first. Less careful. More certain. Rain tapped on the bridge roof while she wrapped both arms around my neck and held on like she had chosen not only the kiss but the risk of it. When we broke apart, she smiled through tears. That was not slow. I can file an appeal. Denied. I kissed her forehead. Fair. She rested her head against my chest, and for a few minutes we stood listening to the river, not hiding, not explaining. That evening, Claire called Marianne. I offered to leave the room, but Claire caught my wrist. Stay. So I sat beside her on the couch while she put the phone on speaker. Her hand found mine immediately. Marianne answered on the third ring. Claire's voice shook at first, then steadied. I need to tell you the truth. Owen and I are seeing each other. Slowly. Carefully. But it is real. Silence. Then Marianne exhaled like something inside her had collapsed. My son is dead? She said. Claire closed her eyes. I know. Do you? The cruelty was grief speaking, but it still landed. Claire's fingers tightened around mine. I lifted her hand and kissed her knuckles. Not for Marianne. For Claire. She opened her eyes. Yes, Claire said. I know every morning when his side of the bed is empty. I know when Eli makes Daniel's face. I know when Nora asks if heaven has pancakes. I will know for the rest of my life. Marianne began to cry softly. But I am still alive, Claire continued. And Daniel knew that. He asked me not to bury my heart with him. Another silence. You have letters too, Claire said gently. Maybe it's time you read yours. The call ended with no blessing, but no curse either. Afterward, Claire sat very still. I pulled her into my arms. She came willingly, curling against me, her face pressed into my neck. I feel awful, she whispered. I know. And relieved. That too. And I really want you to kiss me again, which seems wildly inappropriate. I smiled into her hair. I respect the inappropriate honesty. She leaned back just enough to look at me. Are you going to make me ask? Maybe a little. Her eyes narrowed. Owen. There it is. She swatted my chest, and I caught her hand, laughing softly. Then I kissed her. On the couch, in the quiet house with the kids asleep upstairs and the past not gone but no longer standing between us, Claire kissed me back with a hunger that was still tender. Her fingers slid into my hair. Mine settled at her waist, and when she sighed against my mouth, I felt the last of my cowardice loosen its grip. Later, she walked me to the door. Come Sunday, she said. Dinner with the kids. Is this another date disguised as pancakes? No, roast chicken. Serious escalation. She smiled, but it faltered. And maybe bring Daniel's letter. I understood. For Marianne? For all of us, she said. If we're going forward, I don't want his blessing to be a secret we use as permission. I want it to be part of the truth. I nodded. Then she took my face in both hands. I choose you, she whispered again, like she knew I needed to hear it out loud. I kissed her once, softly. I choose you too. Driving home, Daniel's letter sat in my jacket pocket, warm from being near my heart. For the first time, I thought maybe honoring him didn't mean standing still. Maybe it meant walking forward with the people he loved most. Sunday dinner smelled like roast chicken, rosemary, and panic. Claire had cleaned the house twice. Eli had been ordered to wear a shirt without mud on it. Nora had arranged Mr. Pickles and the giraffe in the living room for emotional support. I arrived with Daniel's letter in my jacket pocket and a bottle of wine I wasn't sure anyone would drink. Claire opened the door before I knocked. You look terrified, I said. I am terrified. Good. Me too. She glanced toward the kitchen, then stepped onto the porch and closed the door behind her. For 1 second, she was not a widow, not a mother, not the woman about to face her dead husband's grieving family. She was Claire. My Claire, though I barely dared think it. She reached up and straightened my collar. If this goes badly, I covered her hand with mine. Then we go badly together. Her eyes softened. That was almost smooth. I've been practicing in the truck. Keep practicing. Then she kissed me, quick but real, right there on the porch with dinner waiting and every ghost in the world holding its breath. When we went inside, Marianne was already in the living room. She looked older than she had at the funeral. Smaller somehow. Daniel's father, Robert, sat beside her, quiet and red-eyed, turning his wedding ring around his finger. Marianne's gaze landed on me. Owen. Marianne. She looked at Claire, then at the children, then back at me. Her mouth tightened like she was holding in 1,000 things, and maybe all of them were grief. Dinner was polite in the way storms are polite before they break. Nora talked enough for all of us. Eli watched everyone like a boy learning that adults could be just as scared as children. Claire sat beside me, close, but not touching, until under the table her knee pressed against mine. I pressed back. After the plates were cleared, Claire brought the shoebox into the living room. Marianne saw it and began to cry before anyone spoke. I couldn't, she whispered. I couldn't open mine. Robert put his arm around her. Claire knelt in front of her and took her hands. I know. I was angry at him, Marianne said, for leaving words behind when he couldn't leave himself. Claire's face crumpled. Me too. That honesty did what comfort could not. Marianne leaned forward and the two women held each other, both crying for the same man from different sides of love. I stood by the fireplace, Daniel's letter burning a hole in my pocket. Then Eli came to me. Is there one for me? He asked quietly. Yes, I said. For when you're older. His jaw tightened. I hate that. I know. Did he write one to you? I nodded. What did it say? The room went still. Claire looked at me, not asking, not pushing, choosing truth and letting me choose it too. I pulled out the letter. My part, I said, voice rough, was simple. He asked me to take care of you, all of you. Eli stared at the floor. And he told me not to run from love if it ever came back into this house. Marianne made a small, wounded sound. I looked at her. He wasn't trying to replace himself. He knew nobody could. He was trying to make sure the people he loved didn't freeze forever at the edge of his grave. Robert wiped his face. Marianne's voice broke. And do you love her? I looked at Claire. There were 100 safe answers, careful answers, answers that bowed to the room, but Claire deserved more than careful. Yes, I said, I love her. Claire's hand flew to her mouth. I stepped toward her, not caring anymore who saw my heart in my hands. I love her, I said again, softer to her this time. Not because Daniel asked me to, not because grief made us lonely. I love you because you're brave and stubborn and kind, because you burn bacon and pretend it's a culinary choice, Because you make room for sadness without letting it own the whole house. Because when you look at me, I remember I'm still alive. Tears slid down her cheeks. You weren't supposed to say it like that in front of everyone, she whispered. I can take it back and try worse. She laughed through a sob, crossed the room, and kissed me. Not a hidden kiss, not a guilty kiss. A kiss in front of Daniel's parents, the children, the shoebox of letters, and every memory that had once made us afraid. When she pulled back, she pressed her forehead to mine. I love you too, she said. Nora gasped. Does this mean Uncle Owen is staying for pancakes forever? Eli groaned, but he was smiling. Marianne cried harder. Then, slowly, she opened her purse and took out an envelope with Daniel's handwriting on it. Maybe, she whispered, I should read what my son had to say. She didn't bless us that night, not with words. But when I left, she hugged me. It was stiff at first, then fierce. Don't hurt them, she whispered. I won't. And don't disappear again. I closed my eyes. Never. 6 months later, I had a toothbrush in Claire's bathroom, a drawer in her dresser, and a permanent position on Nora's stuffed animal apology committee. Eli and I fished on Saturday mornings. Sometimes we talked about Daniel. Sometimes we didn't talk at all. Both felt honest. Marianne came around slowly. Grief did not become easy, but it became less sharp. She started staying for dinner. She still cried sometimes when I made Daniel's old jokes by accident. Claire and I didn't rush the life after. We built it board by board. By the following spring, I asked Claire to marry me under the maple tree in her backyard, the same place she had first stepped close enough to let me tuck her hair behind her ear. I didn't get down on one knee right away. First, I told her, I need you to know something. I'm not asking to take his place. She touched my face. I know. I'm asking for mine. Her eyes filled. You already have it. Then Nora shouted from the porch, Say yes, Mommy, Mr. Pickles approves. Claire laughed so hard she had to wipe her eyes before she answered. Yes, she said, of course yes. When I kissed her, Eli pretended to gag, Nora cheered. And somewhere in the warm spring wind, I imagined Daniel laughing at us for being dramatic. A year after Claire first showed up on my porch with that shoebox, we stood in the backyard with string lights hanging from the maple tree and Daniel's parents in the front row. It wasn't a big wedding, just family, friends, pancakes at Nora's request, and a small framed photo of Daniel on a table near the flowers. Not as a shadow, as part of the story. During the vows, Claire squeezed my hands and whispered, No running. I smiled. No hiding. And no burnt bacon jokes in your vows. I make no promises. She laughed, and I kissed my bride beneath the tree while Eli held Nora on his hip so she could throw petals at us like confetti. That night, after everyone left, Claire and I sat on the porch steps. Her head rested on my shoulder. My arm was around her. Inside, the kids were asleep. On the railing beside us sat Daniel's letter, folded soft from being read so many times. I had honored my best friend once by standing beside him in life. And somehow, impossibly, I had honored him again by loving the people he left behind. Not as a duty, not as a debt, but as the life he had begged us to keep living. Claire laced her fingers through mine. In the quiet, under the porch light where she had first kissed my cheek, she whispered, He was right, you know. About what? Love did show up wearing a familiar face. I kissed her hand and looked through the window at the home we were building. For the first time in years, nothing in me felt unfinished. What would you have done if your best friend's widow showed up a year after his death, with a letter asking you to care for her and the children, and giving you permission to love her if it happened naturally? Have you ever experienced something even close to this kind of complicated second chance? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.